Get all the talk about the Big 12 and college football playoff. JJ and Alex on your drive home. Afternoons 3 to 6 on 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
You can subscribe to JJ and Alex wherever you get your podcasts. Just search JJ and Alex on the KSL Sports app or First and 12, available on all podcasting platforms as well. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you. Big 12 football getting ready for Week 10. Busy slate around the Big 12. We'll look ahead to that coming up in the show. But it's really interesting in this 16-team Big 12, Alex. I feel like even though it's year 3 of kind of like the new look Big 12, year 2 with this 16-team iteration, I think still the identity is trying to be figured out with this conference. And also, there's still this feeling of trying to figure out who are going to be the annual contenders in the league. And once again, we're figuring out that this league, it's very challenging to maintain success year after year. But, you know, it begs the question with a team like BYU, who's won 19 of its last 21 games, and teams like Cincinnati at the top and Houston near the top, could these relatively new power conference teams in the Big 12 become the faces of this league and be the flag bearers of this conference going forward, you think?
Here's the thing. I started to think about it, and I'm like, we get so caught up in whether or not the Big 12 is going to get the same type of respect across the rest of the country that other conferences do. And, well, you got to have a bell cow if that's the case. Except for right now in college football, they're having this weird renaissance of you don't need that. I mean, look at the SEC. Who are the best teams in the SEC? You tend to say. I'm telling you, Mitch, like that feels so fake to me. How many times
I'm kind of bought in on them?
After last week, for sure.
I know Big 12 fans don't want to hear that, but
no. But after last week, for sure. But why would we be bought in on Texas A&M ever when those guys haven't won anything significant, haven't been a part of it? When was the last time they even were in a national championship discussion? It was like in the 1940s. This is a team that you look at now and you go, but again, they're also not a team that the SEC props up and goes, that's one of our best teams. They certainly don't prop up and go, have you guys seen Vanderbilt lately? But that's where we're at here. You're talking Texas A&M, you're talking Vanderbilt. You're talking about teams that you look across. You're talking about Indiana, who's number 3 in the Big Ten, in the country, or number 2 rather, and they're in the Big Ten. And by the way, they've done this 2 years in a row now. So are they the class of the Big Ten? Absolutely not. But here's the thing about the Big Ten. I don't know who is aside from Ohio State. We've been waiting for Oregon to take over. They almost did last year, and then they flopped and didn't at the end. They are good. But you look at it and you go, what does a bell cow mean nowadays? Georgia is the 3rd or 4th best team in the SEC right now. It's kind of crazy, right? Because I don't know if they're that bad or if they're that good even. I don't know where it's at. So trying to lean on these things sometimes, I go, do you need that? Now, on a week in and week out basis, you have to have consistent, or on a year in and year out basis, you've got to have consistency. How consistent can Vanderbilt be going forward? Who knows? They've never been consistent in our lifetime. Indiana's never been good, ever, since we've been alive, Mitch. Those are 2 of the best teams in the country right now, and that sounds so freaking weird to say. So what changed? Everything in college football. The money stuff is all weird. I mean, you look at the Brian Kelly firing this week, and the other firings that are rolling out, right? And the buyouts are this insane numbers and whatever, and they're just not allowing these guys to stay in there very long anymore. So expectations for teams are going to be almost like an NFL-type model now, which is, are they going to be good this year? Maybe. Like, does the AFC have to have a quote-unquote bell cow? They did for so long, right, with the Patriots. But when I was growing up, the Patriots sucked forever, right? The NFL is the new model, which is these guys are all getting paid, and year in and year out with free agency and with all the things that kind of move everything around, it's a freaking crapshoot, man. And I kind of love it. Teams like BYU, I think, need to get, and Utah or whomever, they need to get less worried about we need to be the dominant team in the conference and more of a, hey, on any given year, we could be good enough to just go straight to the college football playoff and we'll contend. And then they need to worry about the fact that Utah and BYU, that's the biggest rivalry in the conference, and it should be. And other teams need to work on rivalries. Like Kansas State, you guys need to work on that rivalry, dudes. Don't call it a rivalry. I'm so sick of Utah and Colorado being called a rivalry. It's not a freaking rivalry.
Yeah, that was ridiculous last week.
So maybe we just need to shift what our thinking is on this whole thing, Mitch, because we've been begging for which team's going to rise to the top. It's like, dude, every year it's going to be somebody different. It has been so far. And right now the SEC and the Big Ten, they're all looking around going, Are we having a meltdown? Are we having a no, you're having a renaissance. You should be glad these teams who are never good are good in your conference again, because we used to make fun of you guys like crazy because you could only have one or two good teams.
The problem, though, for the Big 12 is that they need the bell cows more than ever because the media and the college football landscape is trying to silence the Big 12. I mean, it's all about the SEC and the Big 10. They need those built-in brands that every year get the benefit of the doubt. I think that's why it's important for the Big 12, because I agree with you. I do think that the NFL model is getting applied to college football, where the margins are so thin and it feels like almost any game comes down to a field goal at the end of it, and its margins are tight.
Who'd have thunk it? Indiana football and the Indianapolis Colts are suddenly good again. I don't know how they did it, but because the talent's pretty darn good.
But for the Big 12, I believe they do need a couple bell cows, and I do think that BYU and Houston could be those programs potentially. Houston, they got to work on their fan support. They got to work on leveling that up, but they've got some prominent
people to
boosters.
Come to the games, and
because I think that stuff matters. But when you're talking about the atmospheres, because what do we hear? SEC atmospheres. You go into these 100,000 seat stadiums, Death Valley at night, this and that. When A&M rolled in there and just won by 30. But the thing is that that's where the Big 12, I think, needs to almost get that benefit of the doubt in some regards, where Big 12 teams don't get that at all. And if you have annually a BYU, Arizona State, where they're consistent bell cow teams, then it's like, well, this team's on the rise too, paired up with these bell cows. Suddenly you're looking at 5 or 6 teams in a preseason top 25, and then it's a great starting position. And then you get that ability to suddenly have, you got quality losses, because you never get that going into a season in the Big 12, whereas the SEC, even with those teams, A&M and Vandy being the best right now, they started off in a league where this season, where those bell cows, Georgia and Alabama, just by default, got the benefit of, hey, they're top 7 teams because, well, they're Georgia and Alabama. And I think that's where the Big 12 needs its bell cows to emerge at some point eventually, and maybe these new faces could do that.
It is interesting because I think about the Texas A&M, the way they're talked about every year, like the brand to me defies all odds.
And you know, honestly, I'd be remiss too, because when you say Texas A&M, you think money. Texas Tech too. I think they're going to be that brand that a lot of the media and people nationally say
they have kind of done that.
They
already.
got a rich roster. They're going to be in the mix.
Yeah,
and I think you kind of need that in this conference. I think the programs that probably have the best chance are probably Texas Tech, BYU, and Arizona State to be the annual contenders. I would say Utah, but I just don't know on Whittingham. I don't know what the timeline is yet on Witt.
In this conference, who has made the college football playoff in its history?
Cincinnati,
right? Not as a Big 12 member,
but in the American.
But what was impressive about that was that was the 14 playoff.
Yes,
like when you were having to,
and they beat Notre Dame to get there.
And I'm telling you, like, what's funny about that is that's a conference issue where they were like, because it's the American, right? Oh, the American? Yeah, that's cute. Nice little story. We'll see you guys in the playoff. We'll allow it this year, I guess. Right?
It's what it felt like.
That's the way Cincinnati's looked at. Cincinnati has more college football playoff appearances than Texas A&M has had infinitely, right? Like
fair.
You never talk about, but that's how it is. That's how it is. And then, they snuck in. Well, they backdoored their way in with the little guy's way of getting into the college football playoff. There's no such thing anymore. And then after that, it's what? Oklahoma? No, not Oklahoma State. I don't know who else. I mean, like, who've gotten into the recent TCU? Obviously.
Yes, TCU in 2022.
And then after that, it's like, nobody's really, not really. Arizona State, really, really good team last year. You know, a half of a quarter of play away from being able to go to the next level.
As we wrap it up, I know we're against it, but I think, though, too, long term, and this is kind of galaxy brain thinking, as my kids would say, from a financial standpoint, long term, for media rights in 2030 and 2031, you got to have those bell cows, because that can then maybe enhance the pockets, too, with more money if you can get some consistent brands. But it's a fascinating discussion in the Big 12. Let's take a break. Let's look ahead to what's next in Week 10. Pretty good slate in Big 12 football. It's here on 1st and 12 on KSL News Radio.